opposing the first proposition. A political party should not own a lot of power because they can make irrational decisions. During a transition from your country being a dictatorship to democracy, powers can change. People in political parties have the option to issue themselves more power. Is it the right decision? Well, looking back at an earlier dictator of Egypt, Omar Ashur took his leadership and power too far by destroying Egypt's economy and extirpating the individual rights of citizens. He is responsible for the revolution of Egypt and all of what occurred. The power that certain people and parties are granted believe they can conquer and accomplish things they weren't once able to before. So they use what was granted to them to form armies and conquer certain lands, such as Louis XVI. Citizens of certain regions can potentially protest or be enraged over who is given the powers and opportunities rather than someone else they would have liked in that party. With this protest comes violence and acts of fighting and brutality. For example, in Egypt, Mohamed Morsi gave himself more power than originally granted when in office, and people realized what he was doing, so they revolted. Over 100,000 people protested in the streets of Egypt because they believed he was abusing his powers and needed to step down from office. During his 13 months in reign, Morsi fell out with key organizations and sections of society. He was viewed by many Egyptians as doing little to deal with economic and social problems. He didn't pay attention to a lot of issues. He kept money for himself, he opposed change, which upset more people, and made promises that never actually happened. This all led to the protests and revolts of Mohamed Morsi. With him in office and gaining too much power, Morsi inherited a failing economy. While keeping a lot of money to himself, there was little gas and social security while everything else failed. He granted himself unlimited powers and the power to legislate without judicial oversight or review of his acts. As thousands of protesters filled the streets, the Egyptian military retaliated with throwing tear gas to ward off and settle the rampant protesters. As Morsi was sworn into office as the president and leader of Egypt, he vowed to protect the country and to make the right decisions he thought would benefit the nation. But all he did was put the country into turmoil by responding with acts of dictatorship. In conclusion, political parties and members being able to grant themselves more power comes with high risk of dictatorship and a whole country such as Egypt becoming the revolt. The citizens will either endure and grasp of having a dictator or fight back and rebel against for the sake of their human rights that the leaders have taken away from them. While we hear about just one dictator, think of the damage other dictators can do to their own countries, either having more or less powers. With political parties giving themselves more power than originally given, there can be a great deal of consequences that will linger later on.